Welcome back to The Survival Historian. Today we're uncovering a story hidden in plain sight, within the very timber that held armies together. Imagine standing in a trench during World War I. The mud is everywhere. The smell of decay chokes the air. But the wooden supports holding back the earth, the duckboards beneath your feet, the ammunition boxes stacked for days, they don't rot. They shouldn't survive, yet they do. This isn't luck. This is chemistry. Somewhere years before, a chemist concocted something dangerous, something toxic that would transform ordinary wood into a material that defied rot, insects, and time itself. These are the forgotten formulas, the dark genius of wartime material science. To understand the urgency behind these innovations, we must grasp how central wood was to military operations. Walk through any 19th century military camp, and wood is everywhere. It's the skeleton of fortifications, the ribcage of ships, the frame of barracks and ammunition boxes. A single battleship required thousands of tons of timber. A fortress needed countless wooden supports and beams. But here's where survival becomes desperate. Wood is fragile. Left untreated, timber succumbs silently. Fungi bloom in moisture, sending invisible threads through the wood's cellular structure, weakening it from within. Shipworms and beetles tunnel through planks, leaving hollow chambers where strength should exist. In the context of war, a compromised wooden support doesn't just fail, it fails catastrophically. A trench wall collapses, a ship's hull splinters. The stakes are life and death. Early commanders learned this lesson through bitter experience. Wooden fortifications lasted mere months before structural failure. Naval fleets lost ships to teredo worms, organisms that devoured wooden hulls with relentless efficiency. During extended campaigns, constant replacement of rotted infrastructure became as much a logistical burden as supplying ammunition. The desperation for a solution grew urgent. Armies needed wood that could survive years of exposure, relentless moisture, and hostile environments. Before modern chemistry, people observed and experimented. They noticed ships preserved in certain ways lasted longer. Timber soaked in tar or pitch resisted decay. These weren't scientific breakthroughs. They were survival solutions born from repeated failure. The real revolution came in the 19th century. In 1838, creosote, a byproduct of coal tar distillation, was identified as an exceptionally powerful wood preservative. Creosote consists of complex hydrocarbons that penetrate deep into wood's cellular structure, disrupting fungal growth and repelling insects. It worked so effectively that by the mid-1800s, it became standard for railway ties, docks, and military structures. The 20th century brought unprecedented urgency. As World War I loomed, military planners realized they needed massive quantities of durable timber. Traditional slow-soaking methods couldn't meet demand. Industrial-scale solutions emerged. Pressure treatment vessels, enormous cylinders that forced preservatives deep into wood using mechanical pressure, made it possible to treat entire shipments at once. When the war erupted, both the Allies and Central Powers needed to construct hundreds of miles of trenches. Without chemically treated wood, the logistical burden would have been impossible to sustain. Creosote dominated early wartime applications. This dark, oily liquid saturates wood's cellular structure, creating an environment where fungi cannot grow and insects won't survive. Its effectiveness in marine environments was stunning. Wooden pilings treated with creosote could resist shipworms and marine borers for decades, making it invaluable for naval installations. By the early 20th century, scientists developed something more powerful: copper chromated arsenate, CCA. This formula combined copper, chromium, and arsenic in a synergistic compound. Copper disrupts fungal enzymes. Chromium bonds the treatment to wood's cellular matrix. Arsenic is lethally toxic to insects and fungi. CCA represented a quantum leap in preservation technology, penetrating deeper and lasting longer than creosote. For military applications requiring maximum durability, CCA became the gold standard by the 1940s. The chemistry is elegant and terrifying. When arsenic compounds penetrate wood, they disrupt metabolic processes in insects and fungi at the cellular level. They interfere with respiration, nutrient absorption, and reproduction. The wood becomes poisonous to anything that tries to consume it. From a wartime perspective, this was brilliant. From a toxicological perspective, it was catastrophic waiting to happen. Copper-based compounds offered slightly less effective but less acutely toxic alternatives. For applications involving direct worker contact, copper naphthenate became preferred. Boron-based treatments, particularly borax compounds, offered another approach. Borates diffused into wood through absorption, creating dry wood preservation systems. They were less toxic than arsenical formulas, making them attractive for certain military applications. The practical impact of these formulas on warfare was profound. Consider the Western Front during World War I. Millions of soldiers lived in trenches for months. These elaborate networks of interconnected passages faced constant moisture exposure. Wooden structures would normally deteriorate within weeks, but treated wood could last months or years, reducing the enormous logistical burden of constant reconstruction while soldiers fought. The strategic advantage was immense. With durable timber infrastructure, commanders could maintain semi-permanent defensive positions. Soldiers didn't spend all their time replacing rotted wood. Supply lines didn't constantly transport fresh timber. Treatments like creosote and CCA effectively bought time, precious time for logistics, planning, and defense. Naval applications were equally critical. Wooden vessels still dominated auxiliary roles well into the 20th century. They faced an enemy far more patient than humans, the relentless organisms of the sea. Teredo navalis, the shipworm, could reduce an untreated hull to honeycomb in a season in tropical waters. For navies losing ships to biological attack, applying creosote or similar preservatives to hull timbers wasn't optional. It was the difference between maintaining naval power and watching the fleet crumble from within. By the late 20th century, the dark side became undeniable. Arsenic exposure causes cancer, neurological damage, and reproductive harm. Creosote contains compounds linked to cancer and environmental contamination. Workers who spent decades applying these treatments suffered devastating health consequences. Communities near wood-treating facilities experienced groundwater contamination and ecological damage. This recognition sparked a gradual shift away from wartime preservatives. CCA was banned for residential applications in many countries by the early 2000s, yet the legacy extends beyond toxicology. The systematic development of preservation chemistry during wartime seeded entire fields of materials science. Researchers who worked on military wood treatments went on to develop preservatives for civilian applications. The pressure treatment technology invented to meet military demands became standard infrastructure worldwide. Modern sustainable wood treatments owe an intellectual debt to wartime innovation. Researchers developing low-toxicity copper-based compounds and exotic preservatives are continuing conversations that military chemists started over a century ago. How do you protect wood without poisoning those who handle it? How do you balance durability with environmental responsibility? The forgotten formulas that made wood warproof represent more than a chemical footnote to military history. They embody humanity's determination to bend materials to survival needs, but they also carry a cautionary tale. The desperate pursuit of durability, without regard for consequences, left a toxic legacy measured in illness and death. The next time you stand on a wooden deck or walk across a treated timber bridge, remember that durability is built on generations of innovation and hard-won understanding. Some of it emerged from wartime necessity. Some of it came at costs we're still paying. Thank you for exploring these forgotten formulas with the survival historian. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories of how humans endured and innovated through history's harshest moments.